So we'll see how that transponds in the race. Here is the grid for round one. Danny Davidson, where did that come from? Okay, I didn't see that at the end, but there it is, a 142.069. Gets him on pole position. Seb Eskandari alongside him in P2. Row 2, Scott Barchin and Chris Noble. Row 3, Aaron Cooper, Kane Ryder. Row 4, Andrew Dyson, Ryan Howe. Row 5, Aiden Schweikart and Marcus Watson. Row 6 sees Aaron Russell start alongside Art Baz. Row 7, Vaughan Ryder and Adam Lavis. Marcus Hankey and Sean Bonici in row 8. John Baldwin and Eduardo Zamora, row 9. Luke King and Lane Thoburn in row 10. Joe Baldwin, Phil King, row 11. Benjamin Lavender, Pete Matson, row 12. Ben Gorringe and Seth Brown, row 13. Richard King and Jason Wilkinson, row 14. And Kai Ardley at the back. It looks like Seth Brown, Richard King, Wilkinson and Ardley did not set a time. They may not be competing in the race. Time will tell. So there we are, now just waiting for everybody to grid up so we can get things underway. Danny Davidson wasting no time in gridding up on that first grid slot. And very interestingly, luckily for these guys, the tyre temperature does not go down while they're sitting there, as it does in real life. They all start on a neutral temperature. So it'll just be about getting that solid clutch dump, limiting the spin of those tyres and seeing if you can gain some precious positions right out of the gate. And as I say that, Danny Davidson seems to just eject. Not sure exactly what's going on there, but we'll see. There we go. Okay, the lights are up. We wait for the green so we can get round one of season 2 underway. The lights go green and our drivers are off, and it is a decent start from everyone as they make their way down towards turn 1. Up on the drone cam. Oh, and it looks like Davidson goes wide. That's going to allow Eskandari to take the lead very early on. And it seems as though everybody's managed to make it through turn 1 with little to no issue. Now it'll just be about finding a position on the track and settling in for the long road ahead. Chris Noble in P4 looking to get attacked there by Aaron Cooper, but manages to hold the position. Ryan Howe side by side with Kane Ryder. Seems to lose out there, holds on to P7 for now. And I will tip my hat to everyone right on the grid because they've done a really good job over the first couple. Let's see if we can keep it incident free for the first lap. We'll see smoke, got some lockups coming into the third sector. Adam Lavis gaining a position there in P12. Ryder and Barchin trading positions as well. Oh, and we've got someone off the track. There's someone upside down. Oh, there's massive carnage out at the back. I jinxed it. I'll take the blame for that. I've absolutely jinxed it. So significant incident down at the back. We'll try and go and ascertain exactly what happened there. But Eskandari still leads this race. 3/10 gap to Davidson in P2. Chris Noble P3. And then a healthy gap to Kane Ryder and Marcus Watson, 4 and 5. So if I have a look at the event log here, where did this all kick off? So Aaron Cooper on the outside. Does he get caught out? He does. Locks up the brakes, goes into the side, and then gets, gets wedged over. And then collected on the way through as well. That's big damage to that car. Now, I believe he'll be able to get that repaired because the tyres are still on. So only suspension damage will get you a no repair. So he should be bad. She should be okay to come back on the track eventually, but that is a rough start for Aaron Cooper. Eskandari leads. David to P2, Noble P3. Everyone within 1 second of each other. Attacks still well and truly at play. And there will be a pit stop throughout this as well. Mini will ask me to refresh paints. We'll see. Let's have a look. The wonderful world of technology, iRacing. The update there goes to show the quality of drivers you have in the club. Watson wasn't even challenged in the AWN. Yeah, here he is in 5th. Yeah, that's right. Iron sharpens iron. So Watson getting a good run for money here. Now, we saw that he had a rough first part of the season last season, I believe. Wow, someone gets tail happy right at the back. Was that Trucker? It was. Luckily, keeps it straight as Mark Watson takes the fastest lap of the race, 142.44. And look at that, Jay Baldwin versus Jay Baldwin. So that, of course, is Trucker in front and John behind. John running, of course, that old Stewart livery. Back up to the front here now. Davidson has closed the gap slightly to Eskandari there. So a fight is brewing. Eskandari, of course, showing some very strong rounds later on in the first season. Now with a fresh slate, we'll see just what he can do. Watson also in an attack range now, as Art Baz, P6 all the way down to Schweikart and P9 seem to have extended their gaps past the 1 second mark. And it's very interesting just how fast you can lose the draft in these cars. Aerodynamic cars are very fun to drive, very pointy. You can throw them into corners. But by God, if you lose that train, if you lose that draft, you are just absolutely left behind. Seeing these guys just extending the track limits slightly coming out of that final turn. What place is Trucker? 12th and 13th. Right now he is 12th. You can tell because Trucker, of course, runs the stealth livery and the number 9. John Baldwin running the white livery 135. But yes, I can see how you get confused. That on the timing tower is worse than our Daniel Snedden, Dane Snadden issue. My money's on Dyson. So, as solid as that logic is, Dyson is very fast. Unfortunately, he's also out. So that's not going to work. But yes, Dyson very, very fast. Unfortunately, it seems something happened early on. Was he caught up in any of these incidents? I'm not sure. But yes, he is showing as out of the session. So no, he will not be winning this one at least. All right, 6 minutes in, plenty of race to go. Eskandari doing a fantastic job out in front, holding on well. The question is whether or not if it's Davidson just hanging back and allowing him to do all the hard work, punch a hole through the air, save the fuel in the draft, or if Sam is just putting the time out there in front. Danny Davidson hitting the fastest lap, 1:42.40. We switch back some positions. Marcus Hankey, P13, fighting John Baldwin for P12 right now. John Baldwin, of course, trying to get P11 from Joe Baldwin. Eskandari there, 1:42.309 for the fastest lap. And a couple of people coming into pit early, maybe those with some damage. Unluckily, one of them being Scott Barcher. Now, I don't think he had any damage, but he has decided to get his pit stop right out of the way early. So, we'll see if the previous championship winner can make this work in his favor. Hankey looking down the inside. Didn't quite have the speed to do it. So he will stay in line for now. And back up to P5. Chris Noble chasing down Kane Ryder. Chris losing a position from the start. 1:42.275 from Scott Barchin. So does the pit stop and right out of the gate turns it to 11. So keep an eye on him. He'll be trying to carve his way through the field as fast as possible and see if the undercut works out in the end. And again, we see this big gap here from P6 onwards. We'll see if that can close up as well once the majority of pit strategies come into play. Eskandari, freshly back from Euro Karting Championships. That's right. He was in Spain, if I remember hearing correctly. So the man goes over there, races in the real world. Now comes here to smash it in the virtual. Bring his schedule lines up for the next round of the AOW. Oh, that's true. I would absolutely love to see Sam compete in there. And it's really, really good to see the popularity of the Open World Nationals get larger. It's really cool to see us and SRW come together and hold those events as Chris Noble just touches the back of Kane Ryder's car. Luckily, it seems like there's no damage, so it's play on. But you got to be very careful about that. You get aero damage on the front, and you lose a significant amount of time around this circuit. That's not what you want this early on. He has to be very careful, and as we speak there, Davidson just dropping out of that 0.5 mark. So, no, he took that personally, goes back underneath. So it seems to yo-yo back and forth, but yes, Eskandari doing a great job out in front so far. Biggest mover right now is Wilkinson in P16. 12 positions gained. Joe Baldwin, 10 positions. Lane Thurburn, 11. Biggest loser is, of course, Scott Barchin due to that early pit stop, but we do know how fast he is, so I am sure that he will bring it back at some point. If we have a look at the lap time spread right now, you can see Eskandari well and truly in the lead, 142.3 average, 5 laps. Davidson close behind, and Watson there. So basically mirroring the leaderboard right now. However, it seems as though Chris Noble did have to drop back slightly, and Art Baz is looking for an attack, which he is right now. Down the inside as they come down. Nice and clean. It's what you like to see. Art Baz up into P5, and unfortunately Noble will take an extra ticket home and lose the position. But now he is in a perfect spot to try and fight it back as we have a decent run to turn 1. There it is, gets it nice, has the inside line. Can he hold the double apex? He does. And he takes it back just like that. Easy, very, very easy to lose and gain positions. The question is, how brave do you want to be? And Art Baz looks to take it back again. It gets a bit of a lock-up, touches. And Chris Noble spins off the track. Now, just how much fault was each driver at? Chris Noble on the outside. He goes to take that line. Ooh, he does turn in slightly. Maybe got caught out. Wasn't expecting Art to be so alongside. Either way, unfortunate for Chris. See, shoots back. So all the gaps now have extended out. The closest battle is the one on your screen. Eskandari, well and truly leading this race, but Davidson is keeping him honest. The time goes back and forth. If you have a look at their last lap times, 142.19 for Eskandari, 142.15 for Danny Davidson. They are right there on the precipice. They're trading lap times. Davidson will not let this go without a fight. Neither of them have pit yet, so we'll see if anybody plays funny games with the strategy to try and get one up on their opponent, or if it does just stay as a mirror image. And when you're traveling this close as well, you've got to really be mindful of where you're placing that car on exit, because one little mistake and all that work you've done just goes completely down the drain. So again, hats off to these two up in front, doing a fantastic job so far. Everyone else seems to just be running their own little race, but again, the majority of the field are yet to pit, so once that happens, we'll see how it plays out. Again, just looking at the weather here. So yeah, very, very strong easterly wind. That is going to wreak havoc on some of these corners, especially with that front aero. And I mean, 98% humidity is just a tease. So if I open my mouth here at Motegi and swallow, I get water, but it's not raining. Then again, for the drivers, they're probably very thankful for that. These cars in the rain tend to be a little sketchy. Makes for fantastic viewing, though. So, 13 minutes down from this 35-minute session. Sam Eskandari driving an absolute clinic right now. But is Danny just biding his time for an attack later on? Let's go. As you could just see the grass being kicked up there as they come down that back straight. So as we reach the middle part of this race, everybody's now found that line, found that groove. We're going to see a little bit of mirror driving. Everyone just now keeping it consistent, nothing really to risk for. Ciders really extending those track limits. He's going to be very careful about that. Now, if you've got the confidence, obviously with the new style of physics model with the grass and how it interacts with the tyres, it can be a little bit braver. It's not going to be like ice. You're not just going to skate straight off the track, but those are going to be off tracks. You have to be mindful of those. Rack up too many and you will be given a drive through enforced by iRacing, and that will just undo all your hard work, so we don't want to see that for anybody. So on board here in the nose cone for Danny Davidson, and this is what it's like, front and center, chasing the leader. You see just how late these guys brake, using the aerodynamic profile of the cars to allow them to keep the minimum speed up in the apexes. And then you can see just how powerful the draft is too. It just absolutely sucks the competitor. He looks out just to see, thinks about it, too far back. So what I really enjoy here from Danny Davidson is he's being very thoughtful in the positioning of his car. He's not going for those crazy dives. You know, I don't want to speak for the guy, but it seems as though he realizes, oh, he just goes a little wide there coming onto the main straight. He seems to understand that it's a little bit too early on to be making some of those ridiculous moves. So right now he's more than happy to just stay there. Now, I have to point out, though, if we have a look at those lap times, 142.4, 142.2 for Davidson, 141.69 for Marcus Watson. Watson is very slowly bringing back up to this front pack, so we could see a fight in 2 turn into a fight in 3 soon. Of course, Ciders and Watson on the same team, both Max Boost competitors. That goes for Kane Ryder as well. So a good showing here from Team Max Boost. On board looking back here of Seb. Looks like a much cleaner place when you look down, when you get closer to the track surface. Obviously less of that fog in effect. Scott Barchin seems to be in a prime position here. Looks to go down the inside of Pete Matson. Matson holding on well for now. And so this is the downside of doing early pit stops, is you have to try and make your way through traffic very fast, and they are not obligated to get out of your way. And if it's fighting for position, they are more than at right to defend that. Pete Matson doing a really good job of that thus far, so Scott will get slightly frustrated, but he's got to pick his moment properly. One wrong move, he'll probably take both of them out. That's not what he wants, obviously. He wants to try and cut through the traffic as cleanly as possible, so he's got to bide his time, sit back, have a look at where Matson might be weaker, and then exploit that weakness. As they move forward. Back up to P5. Art Baz now in an attack range. Kane Ryder just dropping back slightly. You can see how the front three are now together. So that is a proper fight. Kane Ryder, though, 2.87 seconds behind. So we've got a bubble of 3 at the front, and then the next 2. Art Baz looking. Kane choosing to defend the inside line. That'll cut off the advance for now, but it will also sacrifice the exit speed. That's going to allow Art to close right up there. Nice and easy, fast left, fast right, using all of that available downforce. Maximize the speed. Going to be very careful not to keep one rear tyre on that grass, you'll spin very easily. If you keep two, it tends to... If you keep one side, it tends to hold okay. So now here we go, back straight. You're going to see a big draft here. Just look at how fast Baz will be able to close up the distance. Kane Rider shoots to the inside. He chooses his line. That's his move done. So now Art Baz is going to have to try and hold on that outside, which isn't going to work. A very smart move there from Ryder. The corner was not conducive to that type of move, so he will fall back again. Rethink. Where will be the next attack vector? My guess is turn one. He's kind of got a mirror image coming out of the last complex and the first one. Here we go. He moves over. Kane tries to get that cut. But this time, oh, Baz just pulled up a little early. I wonder if he can keep the double apex, though. The next corner won't work for him. If Kane can keep that nose in, he will be allowed space. He's just got to keep that speed. Goes deeper on the brakes, locks up, there's touch, they touch. It's unfortunate there for Art Baz, but at least there's no damage. And the battle rages on for these two. Back up to the front as well. Something has happened to Marcus Watson. He was in that 0.5 gap. Now he's dropped back to a 2.5 seconds. I don't see any event log for it, so I'm not too sure what happened, but that has caught him out. So we'll have to work back again for the same point. We are closing up to 20 minutes gone. 15 to go here at the Mobility Resort Motegi for the first round in the second season of the 2025 running. The Spreyton Cider SFLs, Wings and Slicks. And I must admit, it's been a slightly monotonous race thus far. Everybody driving really well, I must say, except of course for that end of lap one shenanigans, but it happens. So I imagine once these front runners come into the pits, that's when the chaos will start to fly. Hold your breath. We'll see if that eventuates. And even so, remember, we do have the Bowens Builder's Choice Porsche Cup from Imola later on. So plenty of motorsport to come on this Thursday night. Thank you for tuning in with us. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. Baz now back in attack contention. Gorange as well, then in P15 fighting Schweikart for what's that, P14 there for Aaron? Or Aiden, sorry. So limited overtaking opportunities here. It's very, very hard because you work so hard to bring up the gap. There's Pete Madsen comes into the pit lane. You work so hard to close that gap, and then by the time you actually look to go and make the attack, the corner's already there. So you really do have to set up. Essentially, it's going to be set up on those back straights. That's going to be where the best opportunity is. Car 58 is showing as parked. Or is that 56? No, that is 56. So something happened to Luke King. Oh, just too much curb, and yeah, started to visit the beach slightly. Oh, forgot about the debris on the tires. There we go. So that might cause some havoc there in that corner, because considering what the debris model is like, they've got to be mindful there. They don't go too far out, otherwise it might slide off the track. And as the tires obviously degrade over time, you're going to get less and less grip anyway. So you'll want to protect them and keep them clean. So these guys yet to pit. Top 13, I take that back, top 12 yet to make their pit stop. They're trying to go as far as possible. I don't think it's possible to do this on one stop. I could be wrong, but they don't have an enforced CPS. No, for the Wings and Slicks, there's not an enforced CPS. So, I mean, if they can make it, they'll make it. I don't think they do, though. I'm pretty sure the fuel start is less. Yeah, 50% fuel. So, don't think you'd be able to fuel save enough. These guys will have to stop. So it seems as though now, well, it's only the one car for now. It's Sean Benici, who doesn't seem to have had a good start to this season. Down 6 positions. Probably got caught up in that early melee, I think. Yeah, he did have an off track there. That makes sense. That explains that. So lap 14 when they decide to come in. No, Benici keeps the inside. They will go one more time. Ooh, has someone slid out? No, they haven't. But they are extending quite wide there on the final turn. But it seems to make it work. So if they're not getting 1Xs for that, then fair game. You want to maximize the track at all times. Watson, of course, now has managed to close down that gap. So he's back in contention for the fight out in front. Here it is, just from the left side view of the car. So as these front three start to catch up the traffic, you're obviously going to see the drivers behind see if they can abuse that fact to try and gain some extra time. Maybe catch Seb in an awkward spot, him trying to pass traffic. They want to make sure they do it safely, obviously not encounter the wrath of race control, but again, plenty of strategies, plenty of options available in motorsport, and the best drivers take advantage of each and every single one. So 25 minutes, 10 minutes to go here for the first round. And Eskandari has not put a foot wrong. Still leading this race, but only by a small margin. Davidson hot on his heels, and Watson now in the play as well. Baz has managed to make it past Ken Ryder, it seems. Baz now in P4 as Marcus Watson and Davidson trade places there, and that is because Eskandari has decided to come into the pit. So the leader will pit lap 16. Davidson and Watson continue on as Davidson sets the fastest lap there, 141.441. Geez, like a rocket. Watson 1/10 slower. So Eskandari, how fast is his pit? Wow, he stopped for 4.4 seconds. That's crazy. That's going to be about a 31 second pit lane transit time. It is 30.9 to be exact. So we'll see if the undercut here for these front runners will work, or if the overcut is where it's at. Eskandari will hope to get as much clean air as possible and back up to speed. Oh, as they go wide, that's not going to do those two any favors. And yes, Eskandari has rejoined in a perfect pocket. So now these two are going to want to hurry it up to try and minimize the time lost in the pit stop. So again, 4.47 seconds. The actual stop time. Kane Ryder there with 4.38. If we have a look at Scott Barchin, he did 3.63 early on. So again, did that pit stop first lap. He's now back up to P11. So a lot of work yet for Scott to try and make it up into the high points paying positions. These two come in. Yes, they do. That is Davidson. They're going to be very careful when you lock up the brakes there. Watson decides to stay out, it seems. He does. He continues on. Okay. So there would be, I'd imagine there'd be some discussion there between Marcus and Eskandari. Art Baz also staying out there. So Davidson in the box. 4.08. It's faster, but here comes Eskandari. And I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to the position. Davidson's going to try really hard. Keeps the inside line, but the tyres are going to be cold. He's got the double apex, but he's at a disadvantage for the next left turn. And Eskandari will slide on through unless Danny's feeling very brave under brakes. He will not. He will play the safe game. It was almost there. He had a much faster stop. 4.08 means 4.47. But Seb managed to make the overtake where it counted. So Seb into P3, Davidson into P4. And we saw just how close Davidson was running to the back of Seb in the first half. You can only imagine he's going to try harder in the second. Now the eyes are on Watson out in front. And Art Baz for that matter. However, considering the fight that he had with Kane Ryder, he won't be in as much of a point swap position, a position swap position in this fight. I can't imagine he'll gain too much time in that pit stop. So the car at 207 just coming through. He shoots in. Now this is a very, very tricky pit lane. You've got to make sure not to spin, lock up to all that jazz. Here we go. So through the pit lane he goes. So remember, 4.47 in the pit box for Eskandari. 4.08 for Davidson. What do we see from Marcus Watson? You can hear, for those of you who are listening, you can hear the clutch paddles going back and forth. I did mention that last season. It's a trick to just get slightly over the pit speed limit. There goes Eskandari. Marcus Watson will join. Immediately goes to the racing line side. Now is he going to have the temper, the ties to hold on to the position? I can't imagine Seb will attack him hard. Being in the same, you can see him moving left and right, trying to bring the carcass temperature up to get back to racing speed. Oh boy, but I think it's worked. Wow, absolutely well done to Team Max Boost. I'd have to imagine that's planned. If that's off the cuff, well done. But Eskandari slots into P2. Watson will hold on to the lead. Watson, that's well deserved. 3.8. 3.8 he stopped in that pit box for. He has put that to the limit. I wouldn't be surprised if his car coughs when he touches the finish line at the end of this race. So 30 minutes out of 35. 5 minutes left to go in this race, and Davidson has been taken for an absolute loop. Eskandari holds on to P2, but Watson takes over the lead of this race, and it does seem as though it will be a Max Boost 1-2 at the end. Can Davidson attack them? Does he have an answer for this? Time will tell. And of course, as they do this, traffic may become a factor. They are spread out for these leaders. Eskandari looks to the inside. Ooh, I think the fight is allowed here. I think they're actually going to race each other properly. I'll take what are papaya rules for 500, Alex. So down the back straight now. Sorry, the main straight. I always get confused. They all have grid boxes. Will Seb look to that inside line? No. Stays in line. But the problem here is that if Eskandari backs off on some of these advances, it's going to allow Davidson to catch up faster. So they have to play this right. They have to be very, very sensible here. There's only a handful of laps to go. Eskandari looks a little bit deeper on the brakes. It works. They avoid contact, but that's going to put Watson a little more to the left. So he will lose P2. Eskandari retakes the lead of this race. And now Davidson, rather. If I've been saying Davidson this whole time, I apologize. I get caught up. But yes, Davidson now smelling blood in the water. We'll see if he can capitalize on any of it. You can see the traffic up ahead. That is Luke King, who had an incident earlier on. Nice tight apex. Puts the power down. Now, of course, the draft gain is going to be minimalized here for Davidson, as Watson will be able to get the exact same amount of advantage from his teammate out in front. Davidson looks to see. Again, nothing there. The traffic is coming up rapidly, though. They're going to the main straight. Hopefully, they will be passed with little to no issue. Oh, Sam's going to get just a little bit held up there, but no, they go past. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and Watson down the inside. Again, advantageous for the first two. Not so in the upcoming left. Watson immediately shoots to the inside, but doesn't have the gap. Davidson now looking for the outside line. It's not the best. And as I thought, the position stayed the same. I truly thought Watson might have just got that back there, but unfortunately, no. The double apex works, but then the left-hander puts you out if you can't get it done on that second turn. So I imagine once this lap is done, we'll have one more. I think they'll be able to get to the line before the time expires. Whoosh. See Benjamin Lavender there just off track. Luckily not getting in the way for these three. So if I'm counting this right, we should see a white flag next time by. The back straight now. Sam shoots off to the right, to the left. Serpentine maneuver, tries to break that draft. Oh, and they've got to be very careful here, very, very careful. You can't do it too aggressively. Watson shoots down. Eskandari doesn't fight hard. It would be a shame to throw it all away now. You can imagine Danny is waiting for any small mistake and capitalize on it. Now, do we see any of the marshals here? Yes, there is the white flag. We do get confirmation on the top left as well. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go. Marcus Watson leading this race. His teammate Eskandari in P2. A fantastic race from him. And then the outsider, Danny Davison, in P3. Eskandari down the inside as they come up to the next. Oh, they get perfect overlap. Now that is some luck. If either of those wheels touch, you would have seen a massive catapult. And now Davison is right there for the taking. He's looking, hoping that these teammates slip up. Eskandari on the inside. Watson's going to try and hold that outside line. The door closes. Has to reconsider. Look at this. Danny now on the outside. Not ideal. Just try and keep the minimum speed. Once you get to the back straight, that's when the attacks will happen. Now, Danny looking to try and box Watson in. It doesn't work. And they come around that hairpin. Here we go. Back straight. A couple of corners to go. Watson on the left, Eskandari on the right. They're leaving millimeters to each other. This is not something you would normally see teammates do, but that's what they're doing. God, I just hope you keep it clean. Watson going off the track to avoid. Now he's going to be in the lead. 2 corners to go. And it's Watson. Holds on, and he's going to take the checkered flag. Absolutely well done. An eventful end. And I mean, if you want to take a nice 30-second snippet of how you race hard but fair amongst teammates, you just got a glimpse of that, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute hats off to Team Max Boost and, of course, to Danny Davison. He did everything he could there at the end to try and capitalize, but neither of those two stepped too far out of line. A fantastic end to this first round. We see John Baldwin now almost in a position to make a game for himself, but nope. He will stay P11. Good job to Hanky there, finishing in the top 10. Oh, my. Yeah, the first half of that race was starting to get a little processional, but I thought...